Can an honest politician actually succeed? And my personal conclusion is no.
This tweet came from Bernie Sanders' official account on September 15th. We can no longer tolerate a system that allows a billionaire like Elon Musk to gain $10.3 billion in one day, while 30 million unemployed workers are denied $600 a week to pay the rent and put food on the table. We need an economy that works for all, not just the 1%. Hashtag tax the rich. Bernie and I agree we cannot have an economy that only works for the top 1%. We need additional stimulus help. They can haggle over the details. Is 600 too much? Does that not motivate people to get back in the workforce? That you can discuss all that stuff all day, but I agree with that premise. The problem I have with this tweet that got me energized was just, I'm tired of hearing Bernie lie. And that is my opinion, that Bernie Sanders is flat out lying with his hashtag, tax the rich. That's not how it works. I agree, in a vacuum, in utopia, and maybe my opinion is that Bernie's very smart. He is knowingly deceiving us to gather momentum for a cause he truly believes in. That's politics. You might be saying, well, what do you mean it's not going to work? You just tax the rich and they pay more, right? No, we live in a plutocracy. It's not that simple. Check out this video if you have a second. We live in a plutocracy, meaning it's a government ruled by the wealthy. So if you go ahead and try to tax the wealthy, let me show you what happened in the 1950s when we tried to do that.
Whenever we have raised taxes on the rich, we have seen horrible offenses against inequality and economic growth. The most illustrative of these eras was the 1950s, when the top income tax rate in the United States went all the way up to 91%. Now, I want to point out that that is no misprint. The top tax rate in the United States was 100% minus 9%, 91%. If you made $200,000 or more, your last income was subject to 91% confiscation by the United States government. The tax code in the 1950s was 11,000 pages. The first 2 pages of the tax code said very simple things. The opening line of the tax code said that income is taxable from any and all sources derived. Okay, if you make income, it's taxable. And then the second 2 pages of the tax code were the list of the rates that started at 20% on low income and went all the way up to 90%, 91% on high income. The next 11,000 pages after those first 2 pages were exceptions to those statements. They were pet statutes that were written into law by Congress at the behest of lobbyists that said this income is not subject to taxation. In almost every case, it had to do with the income of the rich. Let's give some examples. One of the most notorious cases, perfectly legal by the way, was that of the movie studio mogul Louis B. Mayer. In 1951, Louis B. Mayer retired from his studio in Hollywood, and he got a lump sum payment from the studio of $2.7 million, which is probably about $20 million today. And that income was not subject to the 91% tax rate. It was only subject to a 25% tax rate. How did that happen? Louis B. Mayer hired a lobbyist who got a congressman to write a pet statute into the law that exempted his income from taxation. And it applied only to Mayer and his associate who got those lump sum payments. That's what the 11,000 pages in the tax code were. They were a nest of cronyism. And the only way that those exemptions would ever be thought to be put in the tax code is if the marginal tax rate were high. The marginal tax rate was high, therefore all sorts of people wanted exemptions from it. There was a famous comment among the legal bar in the 1950s that was recorded by John F. Kennedy's SEC chairman, William Carey. And that comment was, once you become a millionaire, you don't try to litigate a tax case. You don't try to contest the IRS if you say they think you owe more money than you do. You simply get the statute changed. That's how easy it was in the 1950s to get Congress to write a pet exemption for you in the tax code. So when we talk about the era of high taxes, that it was associated with economic growth and jobs for everyone, that actually is not accurate at all. It was an era in which the rich deployed their income in ways that the government told them to so that they could keep it. And the net result was A, inequality, and B, slow economic growth. There's a reason we dumped all that for tax rate cuts in the 1960s.
Bernie knows as well as anyone taxing the rich does not work. I am an idiot in my basement. Somebody prove me wrong. Show me where in the world taxing the rich has worked. Maybe I'm missing something. I haven't seen it ever work in the US. I have not seen anything that I've read that I can find to show that it's worked in any country. Any country in the world. So what's the answer? Are you for cutting back on the rich? And no, I'm for something that I am for challenging our representatives to do better, to dig deeper. I'm going to look at Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang proposed what most other countries do. It's called a value-added tax, a VAT tax. Here's some basics of how it works.
Many people struggle to understand what exactly VAT is and how it works, but it's extremely important. Over 150 countries use VAT, including China and India and most of Europe. VAT is an indirect tax that is given to the government at every stage of production of an item. In other words, every time there's value added. Let's just say that there is a lumber company and they're selling lumber to a furniture maker and they're going to sell it for 50 euros and the VAT rate is 10%. So that means that on 50 euros there'd be 5 euros VAT. Now the lumber company is going to give that 5 euros directly to the government. The furniture maker buys it for 55 euros. And let's say that they're going to sell it to the furniture store, but they're adding value, so they charge 120 euros to the furniture store. That's 12 euros VAT. Now, the furniture maker is going to also give VAT to the government because there was value added, but they're not going to give the full 12 because the government already got 5. So they're going to give 12 minus 5 equals 7. And the retailer is going to sell it to the consumer, and let's say they want to sell it for 150 euros, 15 euros VAT. So the consumer pays 165 euros, and the furniture store is going to remit VAT again, but a total of 15 euros was already paid. A total of 12 was already paid, so they take the 15 and subtract the 12 coming from here, and they're going to remit 3 to the government. So at each stage, when value is added, VAT is remitted to the government, but if there was an amount of VAT that was previously paid, that gets subtracted from how much an entity remits to the government.
There are multiple arguments against a VAT tax. And I'm going to point out one that I think Bernie Sanders, if I were talking to him right now, would say this is his number one concern, is that the value-added tax would disproportionately hurt poor people. And I would say that is possible. That is a typical con of the value-added tax. But here's what my thought is on it. If somebody is making $20,000 a year, just say a single person, $20,000 a year, and someone else is making $200,000 a year. There is no segment of your life at $20,000 that you should be proportionately, or you should be, well, there's no segment in your life that you should be equal to someone who's making $200,000. So if it's groceries, you're making 10 times less than someone who makes $200,000. There would have to be government programs in place and personal responsibility to withhold your expenditures to match your income. So if you make 20 or 50 or 60 or 100 or 200,000, whatever it is, the amount that you spend on groceries, clothes, entertainment, it all should be proportional. I bring that up because if someone making $200,000 a year spends $1,000 on groceries, and someone who's making $50,000 a year spends $1,000 in groceries, they're both paying the same tax. So the person who makes less is getting taxed at a higher rate based on their income. But you cannot spend the same as someone making that much more. That has to be personal responsibility. Here's the other part of it. So I'm taking away the focus from Elon and Jeff Bezos. Don't focus on Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Focus on their companies. Let's look at Amazon. Amazon paid 0 federal taxes last year. 0, none. A value-added tax would force them along that supply chain to pay taxes, and they can't hide from it. So you're going to be getting more money on that end from a company like Amazon, who paid 0 to they would have to pay taxes along the way to kind of balance out some of that disproportionate percentage of income. The other part is I am very anti-class warfare. So why would Bernie tweet this? It's no different than in 2016 when Donald Trump, 2015, leading up to the election, where Donald Trump literally had thousands of people yelling, "Build the wall, build the wall." And then Mexico's going to pay for it. Well, anyone with an unbiased opinion knew that was asinine policy. It didn't make sense. It wasn't going to happen. But that didn't matter. People thought it was going to happen. It made certain people feel good. It rallied people. It polled well for what Donald Trump's purpose was. It doesn't matter that the wall was never going to be built. It doesn't matter that Mexico wasn't going to pay for it. It carried him all the way to the White House. Bernie Sanders is doing the exact same thing with hashtag tax the rich. He knows that's not going anywhere. That's his wall. Build the wall, build the wall. Tax the rich, tax the rich. Like many of Bernie's proposals throughout the years, none of them have chance. Even with a Democrat House and Senate, they had no chance. So it's good to say, it feels good. Tax the rich, tax the rich. Everything will be better after we tax the rich. But that's not how it works. Don't laugh at Trump supporters that were yelling, build the wall. There's many people yelling, tax the rich. And they don't realize they sound just as ridiculous. It has as much chance of happening as that wall. You're just falling into the same trap, just on a different topic, on a different side of the aisle. Bernie knows it. Bernie knows it polls well, just like Build the Wall polled well for Trump. But that's my case. I would love to hear what anybody else says. I just wanted to put a video together to make the case why I like Bernie Sanders. I like Elizabeth Warren. In particular, Bernie Sanders has always been down for a cause. He's never switched. He's been out in the streets protesting back when he was younger. I'm not hating Bernie Sanders, but when he posts something like that, it's complete bull, and he knows it, and we have to call him out on it. And I need something more tangible and something more realistic and something that actually helps us from him other than that nonsense. Challenge me, post in the comments. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Take care.